I thought I was helping a friend in need. I had no idea that letting her in would cost me months of my life, my sanity, and everything I held dear. My name is Dalia, 26, and I live in the bustling neighborhoods of Cairo. I've always believed in loyalty and generosity, values my family drilled into me. So when my old university friend, Yasmin, messaged me one sweltering summer afternoon saying she just lost her apartment and had nowhere to go, my instinct was to help. At first, it seemed harmless. A week, she said, just until I get back on my feet, she promised with her sweet, pleading eyes. I cleared my guest room, bought some groceries she liked, and even helped her look at job postings online. The first week passed, and then another week. I started noticing little things. My coffee mugs disappearing, snacks vanishing faster than I could replenish them, and my carefully organized closet slightly disturbed. I brushed it off. Maybe she was just settling in. Then came the subtle digs, disguised as friendly jokes. Wow, Dahlia, you really go overboard with your groceries. Don't you think you're buying too much? Oh, is this yours? I thought it was leftover from the cafe downstairs. Each time, it was a little jab, a small attempt to push me off my guard. I laughed it off, unwilling to suspect betrayal so early. But the unease started gnawing at me. I noticed my utility bills had inexplicably increased. A quick check revealed she had been using my internet, electricity, and even charging small online purchases to my accounts. The numbers didn't lie. Someone was freeloading. I confronted her lightly. Yasmin, did you use my accounts for this? She looked genuinely shocked, blinked, and said, What? No, I wouldn't do that. Maybe it was a mistake, something with the bank? Her innocence seemed so convincing. But deep down, I felt the first seeds of suspicion growing into something darker. As days turned into weeks, I found myself constantly adjusting my life to accommodate her. I stayed up late preparing meals, rearranging my schedule, and even carved some of her minor expenses, all while she smiled, lounged, and pretended nothing was wrong. By the end of the first month, I was exhausted, frustrated, and already beginning to wonder. Had I made a mistake trusting her? What started as a small favor was slowly creeping into a life-consuming trap. I didn't know it yet, but helping Yasmin would become a test of patience, strategy, and cunning, one I would need to win to reclaim my life. By the second month, it hit me. This wasn't just a temporary stay. Yasmin was taking over my life, one small theft and lie at a time, and I was powerless, or so I thought. It was subtle at first. Missing groceries, my favorite shampoo mysteriously gone, small bills creeping up, but then the cracks in Yasmin's friendly facade became harder to ignore. I started noticing her strange habits. She'd linger on my laptop when I wasn't around. Her phone screen would flicker whenever I walked by, and sometimes she'd get defensive over nothing. One evening, I caught a glimpse of her texting my coworkers. I pretended not to notice, but a pit formed in my stomach. The seed of betrayal was planted. I checked my bank app late at night. Small charges, food delivery orders I didn't make. And then, the kicker, subscriptions to streaming services I had never used, all in her name, billed to my account. That's when I realized she wasn't just staying, she was living off me. I felt foolish, used, and angry all at once. The woman I had trusted as a friend was slowly draining my resources while smiling in my face. And every time I brought it up, she acted hurt. Dal, I can't believe you would think that of me. I thought we were friends. Her words hit like knives because she knew exactly how to manipulate guilt to silence me. Then came the whispering, subtle attempts to isolate me from my other friends. she would call them behind my back, planting seeds of doubt about me. How demanding I was, how controlling, how overly generous to a fault. I realized Yasmin wasn't just freeloading, she was a strategist. Every action, every joke, every subtle comment was designed to slowly take over my life. I started secretly recording her conversations in my apartment. One night, I captured her mocking me to a friend over the phone. She thinks she's helping me. Little does she know, everything is mine now. Hearing her words, the betrayal hit me like a freight train. She wasn't just taking advantage, she was planning it. I confronted her indirectly, asking casually, "Yasmin, you've been here a while. Don't you think it's time to find your own place?" She laughed, brushing it off. "Oh, I'm fine here. Don't worry, doll. I'll leave when I feel like it." That's when I knew. I couldn't rely on morality or kindness anymore. If I wanted my life back, I had to play her game. And I had to be smarter, faster, and sharper. The guest I welcomed into my home was a predator in disguise. The subtle manipulations, lies, and theft had escalated to a level where I could no longer ignore them. And so, the game of strategy, patience, and revenge began. I realized kindness wasn't going to stop her. If Yasmin wanted to steal my life, I would make sure she left with nothing, and that everyone knew exactly who she really was. By the third month, the freeloading had escalated into audacity. Yasmin had begun inviting people over without asking, using my apartment as if it were hers. My things vanished without a trace. Jewelry, gifts from family, even my favorite books. Every confrontation ended the same way. Her fake tears, her charm, her ability to twist the story so I'd feel guilty for questioning her. I have to admit, her strategy was working. My patience was wearing thin, but I knew anger alone wouldn't win this battle. I needed proof and I needed a plan. I started small. I tracked my online orders, monitored my bills, and began secretly documenting every theft, lie, and manipulation. Then I set up a hidden camera in the living room, disguised as a small decorative clock. The first footage was revealing, but not shocking enough. I needed more. The recordings showed her casually rifling through my things while I was in the kitchen, laughing to herself as if this apartment, these possessions, were hers. Every stolen item, every smirk, every lie felt like a punch to the gut, but it also fueled a fire I hadn't felt in years. One night, I noticed her sneaking into my study late, holding my laptop. I knew she had been copying work documents and personal projects for her freelance clients. I decided to leave a small honey trap file, a dummy project filled with fake but convincing client info. The next day, I caught her red-handed trying to upload the dummy file online. My hidden camera caught everything, her hands shaking, trying to delete the file. Her phone recording timestamps, proving intent. This was it, the undeniable proof of her manipulations and theft. But she was clever. When I confronted her with the footage, she smiled, a chilling, confident smile. "Dalia, why are you acting like this? I thought we were friends. You're overreacting." Her calmness almost made me second-guess myself. But then I remembered every missing item, every stolen coffee, every manipulated friend. She had underestimated me. That was her mistake. I realized the final move had to be public, not just confronting her privately. Everyone needed to see who she really was. But I couldn't rush it. She was cunning, and if I acted too early, she'd slip away or destroy the evidence. I had to plan meticulously, bait her one last time, and ensure the ultimate humiliation and justice was unavoidable. The trap was set. Every stolen item, every lie, every smirk had been recorded. Yasmin's game was over. But the public reckoning, the moment of ultimate revenge, was still coming. I just had to wait and let her walk right into it. She thought she was untouchable, that I'd just let her walk over me forever. But I had one move left, and it would expose everything. By the 4th month, Yasmin had fully settled into my apartment as if she owned it. She had even started rearranging my kitchen, labeling my groceries, and borrowing clothes without permission. Every day, I felt my patience thinning. My friends had started noticing subtle changes in my demeanor. Tired eyes, forced smiles, but I couldn't risk revealing my plan too early. I realized the only way to finally end this was to bait her into showing her true colors publicly. It had to be something irresistible, something she couldn't ignore, and something that would make her overplay her hand. I left a small envelope on the dining table, labeled "Gift for You, Special Opportunity," containing fake freelance contracts with a large sum supposedly ready for transfer. I intentionally left my laptop open nearby. I watched secretly through the living room camera as her eyes lit up, her fingers trembling with excitement as she eagerly tried to claim what wasn't hers. The camera caught her every move, her frantic attempts to access accounts, her whispered mutterings about how clever she was, and the thrill in her eyes. Every subtle smirk, every greedy glance was recorded. I felt a mix of satisfaction and anger. This wasn't just theft anymore. It was deliberate manipulation. She had turned my generosity into her personal playground, and I had been a prisoner in my own home. Watching her greed and entitlement on camera, I realized revenge wasn't just about justice, it was about reclaiming my peace of mind. Yasmin wasn't as careful as she thought. In her excitement, she tripped over my laptop cord, almost revealing her intent. She muttered under her breath, "Dalia has no idea what I'm doing. She'll never see this coming." I smiled, knowing she had just sealed her fate. The trap was working, but I couldn't rush the next step. If I acted now, she could still cover her tracks. The tension was unbearable. I decided to let her take the bait further. Over the next few days, I monitored her actions, sneaking into the study late at night, sending herself fake proofs of my possessions for resale, and even attempting to manipulate mutual friends into thinking I was paranoid. Every act she committed was documented, time-stamped, and ready to use. One evening, she tried to subtly accuse me of being over-controlling, hoping to guilt-trip me into leaving her alone. I played along, pretending to be naive and forgiving. Inside, I was calculating, preparing for the ultimate exposure, a public revelation where no one could doubt the truth. The bait had worked. Yasmin's greed and overconfidence had revealed everything I needed. She had underestimated me completely, and that was her fatal mistake. All that remained was to execute the final act of justice, and it had to be flawless. I wasn't going to confront her alone anymore. If Yasmin thought she could manipulate me in private, she was about to find out how dangerous the truth could be in public. After months of subtle surveillance and calculated patience, I knew it was time to escalate. I organized a small gathering at my apartment, inviting our mutual friends under the guise of a casual get-together. I carefully ensured Yasmin would be the centerpiece. Her manipulations had gone too far, and it was time everyone saw the real her. Yasmin arrived, unaware of what I had planned. She laughed, carried on her usual charm, and immediately began helping herself to my food and my belongings as if nothing had changed. I casually mentioned a new freelance project I had been working on and led her over here. Sure enough, she couldn't resist. As I had anticipated, She reached for my laptop and tried to access the dummy files I had carefully placed. Without breaking eye contact, I discreetly started the playback on the hidden camera footage, projecting it to the TV in the living room. Every smirk, every stolen item, every whispered muttering to herself, everything was now visible to everyone. The room went silent. I could feel my own heartbeat, a mix of anger, relief, and vindication. I had been betrayed, manipulated, and used for months. Watching her reactions as her lies unraveled in front of friends I trusted was almost intoxicating. Yasmin tried to recover, laughing nervously. "Dal, this is ridiculous. You've taken this too far." But the proof was undeniable. Friends began questioning her, asking about missing items, unexplained charges, and her secretive behavior. Each question hit her harder, and I could see her composure cracking. I brought out screenshots of her fake messages to mutual friends, where she had twisted stories to make me look controlling and paranoid. Then came the final blow. My bank statements showing her online orders and subscription charges. She had no excuses. Her face went pale, and I noticed the panic in her eyes. Yasmin realized that she had underestimated me completely. Just when I thought the exposure was enough, Yasmin attempted one last move, trying to manipulate the crowd. Claiming I was overreacting and that we all misinterpret things sometimes. But I was ready. I played the final video footage, her talking to a friend on the phone, laughing about how she had tricked me for months, admitting outright that she was taking advantage of my generosity. The room gasped, muttered, and finally understood the full scope of her betrayal. Yasmin had no words left. Her charm and manipulations were shattered in front of everyone. Friends who had doubted me came forward, confirming her behavior. She fled my apartment, humiliated, and never returned. I felt an overwhelming sense of relief and justice. Months of deception, theft, and emotional manipulation had ended with her exposure. I reclaimed my space, my dignity, and my peace of mind. Sometimes justice requires patience, planning, and courage. Yasmin had thrived on manipulation for months, but in the end, honesty, strategy, and evidence revealed the truth. The lesson was clear. Betrayal might hide in the shadows, but it cannot survive in the light. She was gone, humiliated and exposed, but months of betrayal leave scars you can't just erase. Now came the hardest part, reclaiming my life and my trust in people. The day after the public confrontation, the apartment felt eerily quiet. No laughter, no snide remarks, no more stolen items scattered around. Yet the emptiness wasn't comforting. I realized the battle wasn't over. The emotional toll lingered. I had been manipulated by someone I trusted implicitly. Someone who had disguised greed and deceit as friendship. I spent the morning walking around my apartment, cataloging what had been taken, what had been ruined, and what had been left behind. Every missing object, every tampered receipt, every note she had left behind reminded me of months of subtle theft and psychological manipulation. I pulled out my hidden camera footage again, not out of anger, but to remind myself that justice had been served. Watching her face as her lies collapsed, I felt a mix of vindication and sorrow. She had destroyed my peace of mind for months, yet seeing her exposed confirmed the truth. She had underestimated me. Friends reached out after witnessing the public reckoning. Some apologized for doubting me. Some shared similar experiences, and others simply listened. It was validating, but also bittersweet. I realized how easily trust can be exploited, and how careful we must be in choosing who we let into our lives. But the story didn't end neatly. Even after her public humiliation, rumors started swirling online. Yasmin had begun posting subtle, manipulative stories about me, painting herself as the victim. It was infuriating. My victory felt incomplete as I realized that the digital world gave her a platform to continue her games. I monitored her online activity quietly, capturing screenshots of her manipulative posts. I realized that the battle was not just personal. It was now about protecting my reputation and ensuring the truth remained intact. Every post, every lie, every manipulation attempt was documented, ready to counteract her moves if necessary. I began sharing my story carefully with close friends and colleagues, not to shame her further, but to protect myself and prevent anyone else from falling for her manipulations. Slowly, the emotional weight started lifting. I reestablished boundaries, rebuilt my routines, and reclaimed my home. The revenge had been satisfying, but the healing was the real victory. Exposing her greed and deceit gave me closure, but reclaiming my mental space, trust, and autonomy was the lasting triumph. Sometimes, the end of betrayal is just the beginning of rebuilding. And in that rebuilding, you find your true power. She had humiliated me, manipulated me, and stolen from me. But this time, I wasn't just taking back what was mine. I was making sure she could never hurt anyone else like she hurt me. I quietly monitored social media mentions of my name. Yasmin occasionally tried to spin the story in her favor, posting subtle half-truths and veiled manipulations. But this time, I was ready. Each post was met with documented evidence, shared selectively with people who mattered. The predator who once thrived in the shadows had nowhere to hide. Then came a final, ironic twist. One day, I received a message from a mutual friend who had been skeptical of the entire ordeal. She wrote, "Dalia, I didn't believe the full story at first, but seeing how meticulously you documented everything and protected everyone else, this was genius. You didn't just expose her. You made sure she could never deceive again." It wasn't just confirmation, it was vindication. The friend I had once feared losing due to Yasmin's manipulations now fully understood the scale of her deceit. I decided to let Yasmin fade from my life entirely. No confrontations, no messages, no lingering attention, just a careful, silent victory. Her greed, manipulation, and lies had been fully exposed. Anyone attempting to interact with her would now have access to irrefutable proof of her character. For me, the revenge wasn't about humiliation anymore. It was about control, dignity, and closure. I had taken back my life, rebuilt my boundaries, and ensured she could never walk into another home or friendship with the same ease she had walked into mine. Betrayal leaves scars, but patience, strategy, and courage can transform those scars into strength. I didn't just reclaim my life. I created a lasting system of justice. And in that victory, I found something far more valuable than revenge.
Thank you for being here. If you enjoyed this, go watch the one of the left and don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel for more tales of triumph over injustice and a saga of ultimate revenge.